Hey there, it's Dom Cote.
Warren Burr Jr.
And Mark Anthony Austin, and
We
we
Speak
speak
Bocce.
Bocce.
Hey guys, it's Dom Cote from We Speak Bocce. We're here with Warren and Mark Austin, my co-hosts. How you guys doing?
We're doing
Good.
well. Well, I'm doing well.
I'm doing even better.
Oh, there you go. Always a one-upper.
Right. And do you guys know this is our special first episode?
Yeah,
I did know that. Yeah.
I was hoping that you knew that.
I think because it's our first episode, we have to agree that it's going to be pretty rubbish, pretty
sure.
trash, worth compacting. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think like 20 years from now, we'll have a special edition of this episode.
Special edition.
I think so.
That sounds good. You can add in a wampa or something.
You could add in like the real Ewan McGregor with AI or something.
We can. Happy
May 4th, everybody. And let's
Happy
get into
May
our
4th.
love of Star Wars.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's start with you, Dom.
Okay.
Because you're the host. You put this together. What was the first connection with Star Wars, and what was it about it that dragged you in?
Probably like the toys and the collectibles, and even back then when I got into it, I was mostly playing with like the vintage toys, the Kenner stuff.
So you didn't see a movie?
Yeah, I mean I watched all the original movies, but my first like experience was definitely watching the original trilogy with my parents and grandparents and whatnot, and then the first theater experience I ever had was Revenge of the Sith. Right,
Yeah,
2005.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think mine was Empire Strikes Back. I mean, I don't remember seeing the
in 1980.
I definitely remember seeing Empire.
Well, you're a couple of years younger than me. I was 11 when New Hope came out. I think being 11, I was like the prime, like the epicenter for age, for being like linked to this movie.
Yeah.
And it so happened that at 11 years old, my family life was like really going through a shitty time. It was good. My parents were splitting, and I couldn't understand why. I didn't know what to do. So there was a lot of fighting going on. It was a kind of a battlefield. So Star Wars became my escape.
It was an escape, yeah.
It was an escape. It was like it literally, was that galaxy far, far away that I could just, just go to, like just teleport and escape all of the stuff that was happening in the house that you just wanted to put background. So
I think a lot of people do that, but I mean, it's a tough thing to do.
But that's why it meant much more than just like a movie to me, because it was
an escape.
It was, and it lasted. Luckily enough, it lasted 6 years between all three movies that I could have this material to fuel my imagination and be able to block out all of the stuff that was going on. So for me, I wish if I had a nice sit down chat with George Lucas, that's the story I would tell him, just to thank him for the escape, because
that's great.
But I saw the first movie when it was Star Wars in 77, and I didn't understand what the hell anyone said, but I didn't care. The visuals the visuals just was enough. I understood 3PO, all the British accents. I understood Harrison Ford. I couldn't understand anything he said.
That's funny
because he slurs a lot of his mumbles, a lot of his dialogue. I didn't care. I got the gist. So I didn't care, but I remember coming out and not understanding exactly what I'd seen, but I had to go and see it again.
So Warren, how did you get into Star Wars?
Well, like I said, I don't remember seeing A New Hope in the theater. I mean, I probably did, but I would have been like 4 years old or something like that. So I definitely remember seeing Empire, and that's still my favorite.
That's your favorite?
Empire's my favorite as well.
Yeah. I mean, it had everything in it. It was, and you had the big reveal, and you had, we had all these different instead of being in sand, now we're in snow.
And even if you didn't see the first Star Wars, you understood that the hype just took you into that second movie. I think that's why Empire will always be my favorite, because I'll never again have that much hype, because I didn't know what to expect. First, when Star Wars came out, I what's this? I had no clue. But when Empire came out, I had all of this passion for Star Wars directed at one date, in this theater, and wanted to see this movie, and it delivered, because it just like pound. The Hoth battle onwards, it just keeps pounding, and
absolutely.
And I love the dark ending, and I know it wasn't a favorite of Lucas's because it was so dark, but man, that's what attracted me to it.
It was a cliffhanger. That's what he was. He was trying to emulate, where these were like the serials, right? Like the cliffhanger. What's going to happen tomorrow, or what's going to happen next week? The Saturday. Did you ever go to? Did you ever go to the theater when it was like Saturday Pictures? No.
Where they'd show like pirate dramas and stuff like that.
I think that was back in the 20s. When was that?
Yeah, right. I have no idea.
It was in the 20s. That's what it was. Yeah, that's it.
You're not talking about Netflix?
No. Anyway, that was the cliffhanger in those things. That was the reason you went back the following weekend on a Saturday morning to the theater is because of that cliffhanger that they left you with the week before. So it was really clever, and that's the thing that Lucas understood and Spielberg understood. The cliffhangers, everything. You want to end your sequence on that. Oh my God, what's going to happen next?
Well, and they did.
Right. Well, that's the thing. You guys, you guys were there when Star Wars was at its biggest, and the original trilogy was just, it was firing on all cylinders. Where, I grew up watching the original trilogy, and Return of the Jedi is my favorite movie, and it still is, because I love the creatures, and I loved, Star Wars got me into it, like you guys were kind of talking about, being an escape, but also hope. That Luke was always that hopeful guy, where an Empire, I didn't like it as much because it's a little bit darker. The good guys don't win. Luke gets his hand chopped off. Doesn't always happen.
That's the way it is for you. Yes, you.
Right. And then, but as I got older, I really realized, like, seeing Revenge of the Sith in the theaters for the first time as like a 7-year-old was insane, because the lightsabers, the flashy, this and that. But then I get older and I'm like, wow, like this, the reason why I like Jedi is because it's got Anakin's redemption. Because as a kid, I was drawn to Anakin. So I always loved Jedi because it shows you that, even you can be the worst person in the world, but as long as you can at least try to be a somewhat less of a, dickhead or something, there's hope. There's hope. Right. And I didn't realize as a kid that this whole, trilogies were about Anakin's redemption.
Yeah.
Well, they turned into that, I guess, right? More of Anakin's, or I guess it always was Anakin's story. Right. Yeah, I don't know. What's your thought process on the prequels, both of you?
I was looking forward to them. It was just the amount of time that it took between the hope starting and when they finally did deliver. It was such a big gap that I was worried that it wouldn't feel like Star Wars. And for me, I thought as long as they have, because I remember in New Hope when they got the Rebel fleet together, they got, these are the discontinued. Nobody wants these X-Wings, banged up old X-Wings. Nobody wants these Y-Wings, So I was hoping to see like brand new X-Wings, brand new Y-Wings, like pristine. And because there was an absence of any ships that you recognized, there wasn't one. There wasn't one ship. There wasn't one that you'd be like, it's the Star Destroyers all look different, and it didn't look the same, and everything was just different. And I like it because it's like an evolution. But even the stormtroopers, were different. There was nothing that it had to have that stamp. That's why everything that has come, like the Mandalorian, because it had stormtroopers in it, because it had Tatooine in it, because it had things in it from the original trilogy that I identified with and grew up so passionately and loved, then I could do it. I would have left more.
Yeah.
I would have left more visual icons of the original Star Wars in the prequels. It would have been more of a draw for me personally. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I've come to appreciate the prequels.
I have.
But
I
was older when I saw them. I was in my 20s probably when I saw them. So, I was maybe already past, where it would be like, oh wow, this is amazing. I mean, it was good. I liked it. I liked them. I appreciated them. Personally, I thought Ewan was the best part of them, but that's some other
like bias there.
Yeah, a little bias there.
Yes, I
Interesting.
see you, Obi Wan.
But I had a similar experience to yours, where I was, I was a big Star Wars fan of the trilogy, and then I kind of just, I liked Star Wars, but I wasn't crazy about it. And then Mandalorian came out, and then I watched it. I'm like, that's the Star Wars I remember, and that got me excited again.
Yeah, exactly that. So, but like you said, it has grown on me, because when the Attack of the Clones came out, and suddenly I saw Slave One, I was like, I felt like finally I've got a landmark,
Right.
So it's funny that Slave One became my landmark for the prequels.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's the 25th anniversary of Episode 1. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Jar Jar has now become an icon. Jar Jar is incredible. Look at him. People grew. It's actually funny because that movie was like probably the most hated out of the prequels.
I would think so.
Yeah, but
only because it was the first out the gate. That's what I'm
right.
saying. So that's why I'm saying that had they peppered in more visuals, I think it would have been more accepted by a lot more people as, this is a Star Wars movie, because they did everything over. And I see it because they wanted to evolve into it, but that detachment, I went to see it 5 times in the movies to try and get it out of me, to get that, to overlook
feeling.
Stuff. Overlook this. I wanted to love it. I really wanted to love it. And I can't say I love it now. I do enjoy it. It's not my favorite one, but it's grown on me over time. The more time goes by, the more it becomes part of
that's how I
picture.
Right. It's definitely more accepted than it was. And my generation grew up with those movies, so we thought Jar Jar was, hilarious. We had no idea that he was this idiot that, everyone was like, oh my God, this is killing it. For adults went there and were like this, and kids loved it. And that's what, I had the chance to meet Ahmed Best, and I told him, like, dude, I grew up loving Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks is sick. I was like, dude, you're the best. You're the best, man.
Well,
and he loved it. And he didn't even believe me. He's like, yeah, right. I'm like, no, seriously. Like, Jar Jar was funny. It was something. It was for kids, like you said. It was. And speaking.
The funny thing about wait, before we leave Jar Jar.
Oh boy.
A friend of mine, because we'd all left ILM and we'd gone to Disney. A whole group of us left. So we went down to Disney, but one of us went up to ILM for the weekend and came back and said, "I've seen this. I've seen the behind the scene. I looked at some of the stuff." So he went to the whiteboard and he drew Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, no way.
And as he was drawing it, I said, no, that's not real. And he did the eyes on stalks. I went, really? Like a crab? Yeah. And the ears flapping down like bat's wings. Like, really? And then the duck kind of beak. And he goes, and he said, then he did the impersonation of the voice. I said, you're winding me up.
Yeah, right.
You're winding me up.
There's no way they're going to do that.
After that, he drew Watto.
He drew
Watto, and I was like,
boy.
"You are winding me up. There's no way." It's funny, they're both true. Yeah. But I was sure he was just winding me up. It was such a weird. It was like one of those things where, as a kid, you said, "I put a horse's head, and I put it on an elephant's body with seal flippers for feet." You do these weird drawings, and to me, I thought he was doing something along those lines, but.
Nope.
Well, it's funny because
it was true.
It's funny because I actually like Wadu. Like when you think of Tatooine, you think of like this wretched hive and scum and villainy, and I just think of Wadu. I'm like, Wadu's just a scumbag.
Yeah,
I was like, that's what he is. So I thought Wadu was funny. I mean, it is what it is. But as we all know,
they've grown on me. That's what I'm saying. I accept them.
Right, exactly.
I love you, Phantom Menace.
There you go. So speaking about, childhood and everything, why don't we get into the toys?
Oh yeah.
I used to play with them. I still do.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you that because when they first came out, I got so much grief for playing with dolls. Like at school, I got so much grief from the older kids for like playing with dollies. They said,
right.
And I'll be like, no.
Well,
they're action.
It was a different time.
Yeah, well, the problem was you were 15, Mark. That was a problem.
Yeah. And now I'm 57 and I still play with dolls.
Right.
So, speaking about the figures, because I was saying I kind of grew up playing. I actually used to keep my figures that I would get my Revenge of the Sith figures or Attack of the Clones, put them on my wall, and play with Kenner hand-me-downs, having no idea that one day, Blue Snaggletooth was going to be worth $500 and all this crap. So when you guys played with your toys or whatever as a kid, I mean, first of all, what did you think of the quality? Like when you grew up, were you like, this is the greatest crap ever? Oh my God, look at the articulation.
Yeah.
How do you think these figures age?
I mean, they're originals. They don't bend it. They
right.
But it's definitely a different generation. The generation that looked at these pieces of plastic and fell in love with them, regardless of the fact that Han's got a big head and a little body.
Yeah.
Regardless of the fact that R2-D2's got a bright blue eye instead of a black one. You didn't care. You fell in love with them. But if they were to be figures out in today's market, the expectation level on the consumer is so high now that they would be, what's wrong with these cartoon looking eyes that look like something out of Scooby-Doo or something,
Yeah, that was what we had.
Yeah.
We were happy for it.
Oh man, do you remember they had these like transfers, like they were on acetone, and you had a background like a Mos Eisley or Death Star kind of battle, and you could put Luke with a blaster firing and have a little laser. Put the laser there.
That's right. I remember
and
those. Yeah.
They looked so crappy. They didn't look anything like Luke. They didn't look anything like Chewbacca. Stormtroopers looked kind of like a squashed helmet stormtrooper, but you didn't care like anything that had that
Star
logo.
Wars that had it,
Oh yeah, everything.
Well, it's funny because like how poorly that they're iconic. I mean, to this day, vintage Star Wars figures are like the most sought after toys. I grew up a collector, which I'll show real quick an example for our YouTube watchers.
Go full screen.
We'll go full screen. All right, here we go. So this is my pride and joy. I mean, I collect all mint on card vintage Star Wars figures. But this, and it's funny, I'm going to give you guys an example. I bought this maybe almost 10 years ago. Can someone throw out a price of how much I paid for my 1983 mint on card Boba Fett?
Back in the day.
$100.
No.
When you got it.
When I got it about 10 years ago.
Yeah. $100.
I'd say maybe even like $12.
$12 10 years ago. Okay.
Somewhere
maybe you got it on eBay, a good price.
So I actually had a friend who's a vendor now at my shows, New England Toy and Record Show, and it was something I really wanted. So he would hold stuff from me, and he knew I was a collector. He knew I was a kid, and he knew I didn't have enough.
You're in the know, Dom. You got connections,
right? So this guy actually hosts panels at Star Wars Celebration for the toys. So he's like a huge collector, and as a kid, he was like my Star Wars toy hookup. Instead of doing drugs, I had a toy addiction. So I'm going to him as like a 16-year-old. I know, Mark, and It was $700.
$700.
$700.
Wow.
So I was mowing lawns, you know, doing whatever I could for my parents, grandparents. Right. Yeah. I was getting my allowance money up. I used to hustle kids at school. I'd be like selling my other Star Wars. Yeah. We're 15, you know, be hustling, selling, you know, my other Star Wars toys, whatever the heck I had, hockey equipment to be able to afford this. And it took me probably like 8 or 9 months to pay off. But I ended up, you know, the guy held it for me. And it's still my collection to this day. And market value now, they're 1,500 plus. I mean, I've seen them in this shape sell for $2,000.
Yeah.
So anyone that kept their toys, you're loaded. If you didn't play with them,
mine are well
loved.
Mine are well loved.
Well, that brings us to my
the point of
is,
limbs falling off.
Oh yeah, like a C-3PO's arm that just goes.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that you know, doing the show, the better we get at this, and the more guests we have on through, all three of us have incredible connections to Star Wars, and we can get so many cool. As soon as you brought up Kenner, you know, we talked about it. We can bring on Jim Swearigan to really get a deep dive.
Jim would love to be on here. He would love to be on here.
Yeah,
I say
we do that.
I saw that Netflix show.
The Toys That Made Us.
Toys That Made Us.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a call to go to Mexico City. So I said, in 3 weeks. I went, and then, okay, I'll do it. So went to Mexico City 3 weeks later. Who would I bump right into? Jim Swearigan.
Really?
I was like, and he was setting up his table, and he was putting out like a little plastic transparent show thingy display, saying, you know, the toys that made us, blah blah blah. And I said to Jim, I said, mate, Jim, I haven't got words to tell you how. I can't thank you enough for how many hours. You don't understand how many months even maybe added together that I got from everything you did. I can't thank you enough. So it turns out that he is a huge Boba Fett fan.
Oh, wow.
Because Boba Fett was one of the first things that he was privy to see and got to be involved with and got to design. He was the one that designed the prototype. You know, the one that he kicked back
one that
from
shoots.
The rocket firing Boba Fett?
The one that has the kit bash. It's made from a Death Star commander, a C-3PO. He kind of kit bashed it all together.
Okay.
But anyway, so it turned out had a kit. So we just went out to dinner that evening. He introduced me to Kim Simmons, who was sitting next to me, and I was talking to Kim. I didn't know who Kim Simmons was.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that's an unusual name, Kim. So he said, yeah. He goes, I was the photographer. I took all the pictures for all the action figures. I was like, everything you've taken a photograph is a brain tattoo in my head. You realize this? Like, I those brochures, even the stuff that we couldn't get in the UK, because if we got a Kenner brochure, you had new stuff. You had the American Death Star and stuff like that. So, but even the American stuff, I knew every picture of that. So I said to him, I said, I know your work is like catalogued right in here. It's all in here. And it ended up that at the end of that night, there was this big monsoon, and we were with a whole bunch of Hoth Rebel troopers as well.
Wow.
There's a whole bunch of Hoth Rebel troopers, Jim Swearigan, Kim Simmons and his wife, and me, and we had to wade through like foot deep torrential rivers that had become the streets. You know, the streets just transformed into rivers.
Wow.
And I had to try and get Kim Simmons back to the Holiday Inn because you couldn't get any taxi cabs. It was a river.
Oh no.
So it took us maybe like half an hour to get back. And by the time we got back, we were drenched through. Oh, no. But we had such like a bond, like all of us from experiencing that together, that we end up being like email pen pals, after that. So
great.
But Jim is a great guy. Jim would love to be on the show.
Yeah, I'll be with him next weekend.
All right, invite him.
So I will. I'll invite him. I'll tell him Warren Proulx said he's looking for the rocket firing Boba Fett.
He's gonna be like, what the? Who the?
He's gonna be like, who's Warren Proulx Jr.? What is he from?
Oh, maybe you should tell. Maybe you should tell people who you are, because you have a connection to Star Wars, and I'm sure most people that watching this, know the connection. But there might be someone that doesn't know who you are and your connection to the Star Wars franchise.
Well, I worked on several of the Disney Plus shows. The biggest one was Obi Wan Kenobi, because I vaguely look like him. What the heck was that? But the first thing I did was I was on Mandalorian season 2 as a stormtrooper, and that's when you're like, oh, dude, I'm in a stormtrooper uniform. And
oh man,
it's amazing, and you can't move, but whatever. And then I got to put the force cuffs on Grogu, and then once you get in there, you're the guy that can put on the costumes and fix the costumes.
How did it feel to, like, when you got that first call? There must have been some point that you realized it was Star Wars.
Well, what's funny is you don't know until you're there.
That's what I mean. So
yeah,
I want to know the point at which the penny dropped and you were like, how must that have felt?
What's funny is, well, the first experience was going to a fitting for the stormtrooper uniforms, which they didn't call them stormtroopers, they called them something else. So a lot of people had spent time YouTubing this other thing, and they're like, oh man, I learned how to chop, I learned how to do this. It's like, that's not what it's about. Because then as soon as you walk in, you're like, oh, this is Star Wars. Now, similar to that, Obi Wan was kind of its own thing. There's Book of Boba Fett, there's Mandalorian, Ahsoka. They're kind of like this, and then Obi Wan was kind of its own thing. But I got the call for that because I had worked with the casting director before, and she called me up and said, "Can you grow a beard?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I could grow a beard. I mean,
I'm a man.
Why not?
I'm a manly man."
So she said, "Yeah, you're going to want to do this if you can do that, and show up on this day." And you show up, and I walk in, and I'm on the volume, and Darth Vader's there.
What?
Like a 7-foot-tall Darth Vader. And I'm like, this is what I get to do? Yeah, that one was amazing. That one was fun.
I bet that was a fun day at work that day.
Oh man, it was just camera testing. It was just looking up at Demetrius, who was in the costume, and looking at the lightsabers crossing over him. It was pretty fun. Yeah. That was when I was like, oh, okay, this is a fun thing to do.
Yeah, and the coolest thing about having you guys is you guys are in Star Wars, and the whole point of me doing this podcast was to have my co-host be guys that are involved in Star Wars, either behind the scenes, on camera, whatever, because you guys, you're going to understand a lot of the guests that we talk to. You're going to understand the stuff they talk about, and it's going to be, an inside scoop that you guys will understand, and you might actually be able to pull more out of people because talking with both of you, you guys both have, great careers in Star Wars, without Star Wars, and Warren, your career is going to keep going, I'm sure, because they keep bringing you into stuff. And that's the incredible part. The cool thing about getting to know you was, the Obi Wan, stand-in and second unit stunts and everything. That's all incredible for all the Obi Wan fans out there.
Right.
Not going to diminish that. But for me, the fact that you get to be a Tusken Raider in Book of Boba Fett, that is cool. That is cool.
Yeah, that was.
I'm envious of your spectrum.
We had on some of the costumes we had a little bit of say in it. I was a Shydot pirate in the season 2 of Mandalorian, and there was a day when we went into costumes, and they're like, hey, let's use this. Oh, let's cut this bra in half and make them pauldrons or shoulder pads or whatever. And so we had a little bit of say in our costumes. And yeah, I mean, again, the Tusken costume is just flowing robes. It's very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then they strap the mask onto your face. And that becomes uncomfortable, especially in 100-degree heat. There were some really rough days. But then again, you're only seeing this much. And I looked out and I saw a bantha moving. And I saw 2 Tuskens, and I'm there.
I'm gonna get my Tusken costume while you're talking. I'll be right back.
Oh. Talking about costumes. Yes. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Oh boy, wait. We got to put Mark. We got to get him nice and close to the camera here. Mark, wow. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Boom.
Oh.
There it is.
Those eyes look a lot bigger than the ones I had.
I made this from scratch. I made
that's
this from.
Awesome.
I ripped the interior out of a skateboard helmet. You know, the little strap that goes inside the helmet. And from that, I got, little plastic tire pulls. And these are actually those drainage things for on a car, oil.
Oh.
Like there's one part, those big long cylinder. And I thought that bit right in the middle looks just the right size. So I got 2 of them. Yeah. This was made out of Fimo. This is my belt. Oh. And this was, do you know those when you get your paintbrushes and you roll them up in that leather thing? What's that?
That Sarlacc pit, or no, the Dune popcorn bucket.
Oh boy! Well, let's not talk about that.
But inside, and I built it around the rubber latex one. So I used the latex ones as a base, and then I ripped up I dyed this canvas in a bucket with watercolor paint, some acrylic paint like brown and a bit of black, bit of white, and it just like covered it over. But and I can go in the back here, flip in the back, and then all this comes down and wraps around at the neck and holds it all in.
That's incredible.
How about that?
That is
actually won the competition with that.
No, I can see why. That looks like the one I was wearing.
Well, Warren,
mine look a little bigger.
Oh boy,
yours is yeah.
The best part too, Warren, is when you were in the costume. Okay, I have one question that I want to know. Okay. My question for you is, what was it like to be in the costume when the Tuskens were doing their little raider? Yeah. Yes. Now, were you doing that on set? Where like when you had to do that?
But you really couldn't. Yeah, that. You really couldn't hear you very well because you're in that mask, and so everyone was doing it, but we weren't close enough to a microphone to
pick it up.
Say, hey, can you stop making the pew pew sound?
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. I wonder if anyone got close enough.
I was, of course, as soon as they hand you a gaffy stick, the first thing you do is go.
Yeah. Can you do that one more time for the fans?
I could, but I'm not going to.
There we go. And the last thing I want to talk about with Warren is the Ahsoka show. Because you got to remember that when you look at your career, Obi Wan, established character, Stormtrooper, established character, Tusken Raider, established character. Yeah. You got to be the first Stormtrooper that Night Trooper. Sorry, first Night Trooper. One of you're a part of the first Night Troopers.
We were the first Stormtrooper type that ever needed to get back up on camera.
Oh damn!
We're always falling down. Yeah, everyone's falling down. No one's ever getting.
And it's hard to get up in a.
We had to rehearse for like 4 hours to
figure
out how to get up. Because you can't use your gun and you can't use your blaster to push yourself up. So you just had to kind of twist into position. It was very hard. It was hard to get down into the position to get up. So it was very difficult.
So what was your thought process when they said, hey, you're playing a Night Trooper? Were you like, what the hell is a Night Trooper? Or
pretty much.
Did you go into like thriller zombie mode?
Yeah, right. Were you like,
was it fun doing that?
Oh, I mean, I can't tell you how many times it would be Dance Thriller, just in between takes. Yeah, like Rosario would be stabbing us with our lightsabers, and we're just doing the Thriller dance, and I don't know. It was fun. It was fun to be on.
I envy your experiences because you always were doing it with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all mine was completely solo,
right?
And just
yeah, and I got to work
nothing
on the volume.
to look at apart from tape marks for where things were.
Right.
I mean, you got to go in the volume and actually kind of feel like you were there.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I mean, the volume is amazing.
I mean,
it is amazing.
Beats a blue screen shoot, completely. Yeah.
But I mean, there's so much. Well, Mandalorian is, he's got all that reflective armor, and so if you put a green screen there, it's just going to reflect green onto him.
Yeah.
Right.
No, the first
so it actually reflects.
I worked on one of the first productions to use the technique as a ring around, and that was Oblivion, because they had that sky base that was all glass, and so it would have made a green screen impossible, blue screen impossible, any kind of screen, red, purple, nothing would have worked, because you'd have to try and pull out of all the layers of glass, and what do you fill it with then, So that was one of the first ones to do it, and Tom Cruise, who's has a big say in Hollywood, you might have heard of someone, a guy called Tom Cruise.
He's that short little guy.
Pretty well-known guy.
Sounds familiar.
He was just like, oh my God, this is like, I can actually act. I feel like I'm up in the air. I feel like I'm up in the clouds. I look and I see clouds. I'm up in the clouds. It makes my job easier, and
it does. It makes acting easier.
It went so quick, the takes, because everything was just felt so natural, and just so it's like shooting on location almost. That it became like the way to go. So I'm really glad that it's taken off.
Well, after you just mentioned blue screen and a little snippet of Mark's experience, Warren, thank you for sharing some stories.
Well, thank you.
Where
it's a pleasure to speak.
Well, you're still on the show. We're just thank you for introducing.
That's why you're on the show.
What you've done. Yeah, that's why you're on the show. That's your involvement. We like you a little bit. We like you enough.
I think actually, Dom, you brought it up earlier, but the whole reason that this show hopefully will be different from other shows is because the three of us have this great connection.
Oh, yeah.
They're Star Wars people, but more importantly, they're friends of ours.
Mm-hmm.
So having them on the show is like having your friends on the show. It's going to be hopefully a different, more genuine, more raw, but genuine experience and dynamic. So that's
something that you can understand a little bit better where they're coming from, or what the struggles or whatever they have to go through.
We know the stories that we wish they would share. So imagine if we had Joe Gibson on the show. I would be, Joe, you have to talk about that Superman shot. You have to talk about. So we know all the stories that. Like, we'll be sitting in TGI Fridays hearing this great story, and I'll be, man, I wish I had a video camera. A video camera just on this whole hour that we've been talking about stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping that, because I mentioned it to, the friends that I know, and, we got a podcast, you should come on, it'll be fun, and it will. It's different. It's not like going on the podcast with somebody you don't know.
Right.
It's like you get to know them over the hour that they're talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if we had Margot come on the show.
Oh, Margot.
Oh, yeah.
That would be
fun.
That'd be electric.
But you wouldn't get the same dynamic with any other podcast crew.
Right.
Because the three of us know intimately, Margot's dynamic and all her little things, her buttons and everything. She is amazing.
The buttons. The buttons.
Especially you, Dom. You wind her up so much.
Oh, that's the thing, is that I get people, especially that are so, everyone's like, oh, Margot's so sweet. I'm like, give me 5 minutes with her. Give me 5 minutes and you're going to see a pissed off Ewok. And that's going to be cussing or what? No, she doesn't do any of that. No, but I get her wind up. I get a lot of people wind. I like to wind Warren up too.
Every once in a while.
Yeah, it's fun, and that's the whole point of this. It's to have fun, and you know, I think it's with us. We're gonna bring out the personalities that people don't see. You know, because some of these
That's
people,
exactly
like I
it.
said, yeah, some of these people, like you know, like Margot. Margot is a sweet little angel, but when you get her going, she's so funny. She is so funny, and you know, some of these guys, you know, they're more
Susanna.
reserved.
Imagine having Susanna on.
Oh, right.
Susanna.
Oh boy.
That
Susanna
needs
be
to be
hilarious.
like a special
Explicit.
I think we might, you know, some people listen to this will be like, oh, this is just another podcast, and it's another Star Wars podcast, you know, and yeah, it's another Star Wars podcast. It is, can't deny it. But I'm hoping that because, and the reason we have these connections is because we're all, you know, intimately connected in the whole convention circuit. So, because we're in the convention circuit, or working, but even Dom, you know, Dom holds his own conventions. But because of that network, our network extends to even like, you know, Star Trek people.
Tim Russ.
This great, huh? So it's whole other.
I remember, you know, in the car with him. It was fun. Yeah, that was a great time. Oh, we'll have to talk about that later.
Well, so
Stay tuned for that one.
You talk about the
Dave Barkley.
Okay.
Dave Barkley.
But that's the thing. We have been there's been some like legendary things that have happened at conventions, and now we have been privy to seeing those firsthand. Some of them we've been there. We've been in the trenches with these guys. And so that's when you have that's when you make the biggest bonds. So like imagine if we got Dave on, Grandpa Dave.
Grandpa Dave.
If we got Dave on, he would be amazing, and it would be a whole different conversation than it would be were he on a show where he was meeting that person for the first time, you know. So
do you want to tell them who Dave is, or you're just going to say Dave?
Oh yeah, Dave Ankrum.
Okay, I was just
Dave
and also Dave Barkley.
Well, there's Dave Barkley.
Dave Barkley as well.
Dave Barkley.
But you were talking about Ankrum.
He was talking about Ankrum.
But then there's Gigi and there's Tim Russ. You know,
and
there's out of.
There's James Jones. From Love on the Spectrum.
Just met him. He's a funny guy.
He is so fond of Star Wars.
I can't wait to meet James.
He really is.
I can't wait to meet James.
Fond. Very fond of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, here's you know what? I mean, we got so many great ideas and so much we can do. But, you know, this first episode is mainly we want to talk about you guys. So I have some more questions just so we can get to, like I said, really get to know the host. So, you know, we talked a little bit about Warren's career in Star Wars. And now I want to talk to Mark about Mark's career in Star Wars. And then after, I have a couple questions for you guys. So, Mark, I mean, you're probably like every 10-year-old's dream. You got to play the one and only Boba Fett.
Boba effing Fett.
Yeah, Boba effing. We're going to try to censor. Wait. Let's get you on the solo layout. There it is.
Solo.
Oh, wow. That is Boba Fettish right there. Wow.
Love you.
That is something.
No, but I never get tired of thinking, God damn it, you know, I am Boba Fett. If I'm having the worst day in the world, I think, okay, I'm having the worst day. But you know what?
That was Boba Fett.
I'm Boba Fett. So how bad could it be? You know?
Wow.
So, but I'm never going to get old because you don't understand. We spoke earlier about how, you know, Star Wars was this kind of escape for me. And after Star Wars came out, we also mentioned about the hype that went into Empire. And part of that hype was the action figure, you know, kit bashed by Jim Swearingen that we mentioned earlier. And that was the draw for me. When I read the bio of the action figure saying he was a kind of a loner, and I was an artist, I was a loner, to escape from all the battle that was going on in the family.
Yeah.
I would draw. Art was my escape. You know, I'm an artist, so I would find art, and that was my escape. And usually the art would revolve around Star Wars in some way or shape or form. But when I read this bio and read him as this loner, he's a loner. He's a bounty hunter, and my hero prior to Star Wars, or alongside Star Wars, was Clint Eastwood from like The Good,
Oh.
Bad, the Ugly.
Sure.
So this was like Clint Eastwood, bounty hunter with a poncho and everything, even kind of green, and mysterious in his identity, just the same as this guy is man of few words. It was like Star Wars and Clint Eastwood put into one character. So before I even saw Empire, that I dropped the Stormtrooper, because Stormtrooper was always my guy before. After Star Wars came out, I wanted nothing more than to own a costume of a Stormtrooper, and I do. But after seeing this description, I just fell in love with Boba Fett. And so at age 13, I wanted to be this character, this one character. So it's so weird that 15 years later, that dream came true. But the thing is that I only had this character that was described and my backdrop of everything I'd just seen, which was Star Wars: A New Hope, right? So the only thing I could do with this little character is imagine, circumstances that involved him in Star Wars in some way. So it's so weird that I end up becoming Boba Fett in the original movie, just like these kind of, these stupid, games that I used to play.
The special edition, it's amazing.
Weird. And that came 6 months before they asked me to do the animation for the creatures. I thought I'd finally, I got a connection to Star Wars, because when you have, an obsession, like for you, Dom, it'll be Kiss. When you have when you have a connection to it somehow, as a kid, you just want something, if it's a T-shirt that you're wearing, or just something that identifies you with the thing you love. And so becoming Boba Fett, my favorite character in my favorite franchise, I thought there's nothing more to get. This is it. This is the top of the mountain. And when they turned around and said, I actually went up to Human Resources at ILM. Went up to Human Resources, and I wanted to know how I was going to get home to England. So I went up and I said, have you got my papers? And they said, oh no, we've got you down here as staff. I said, really? I said, because I have a visa. I said, yeah, you have it down as a O1 visa, yeah. With you down as staff, and you're actually slated to go on to Star Wars: A New Hope. I'm like, what? What? I thought I was going home. I thought I was going to Gatwick Airport.
Oh man!
I thought I was going to have to tell my mum, because my mum was she was happy, but she was disappointed because she wanted me home, and this meant staying out another 6 months. It was a 6-month extension to the contract. So she wasn't happy, but it was only 6 months. And so I said, well, do I get to animate, some X-Wings and the Falcon maybe? And they said, no, you're just doing creatures. And I said, oh, I thought they would add some more spaceship shots, Why would add it? They said, yeah, but John Knoll's taking all of the spaceship shots and he's doing them in the evening, while during the day he's supervising Mission Impossible. So he's supervising Mission Impossible, and then in the evening going back to his hotel, flying the X-Wings through and rendering stuff out and sending it to ILM in San Rafael. But he hogged all of the spaceships, and then Steve Williams came up and he had Jabba, because George trusted Spaz. He trusted Spaz, so he was the only one he would trust with Jabba. So he had Jabba, and when I saw what Jabba looked like, I said, "Oh, I'm so glad you've got him, because I don't anything to do with him. He doesn't even look to me. Doesn't even look particularly like Jabba, So you can keep him. I'll do the creatures. So what creatures? So they showed me this Ronto. That's unusual looking. So I had to do a walk cycle for the Ronto to kind of get the feel of it. Then they showed me the Dewback. I'm like, oh my god, Dewback. You've never seen the Dewback walk, though. So I'm like,
how does it walk?
Whenever you see them, they're standing at the top of a dune or standing outside the cantina. They're just standing. So, how does it walk? And when I looked at the legs, I'm like, I didn't think that's what the Dewback's leg looked like. But who am I to say? This is George's creation, you know. So to do a walk cycle for the do back, and because it was the first shot that I did, they had everybody in the meeting room to pick at it. So people were pulling it this way, people pulling it that way. I was in the middle saying, okay, you want it less? Oh, you want it more? Okay. You want it higher? You want it lower? Okay. I'm like in the middle, like trying to please everybody. Steve was in there as well. Steve Spaz Williams, he was in there as well. And this clunky looking dewback was walking along, and I'm like, please. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. Please just let me smooth everything out. I need to finalize the dewback animation before I can even do the stormtrooper.
Right.
Because if you're sitting on horseback, you are subject to whatever the horse is doing. You know, the horse moves this way,
Right.
you're gonna sway. So you have to get. I had to get George to say this is the final dewback animation, so I could start the stormtrooper. But they wouldn't. They kept changing it and changing it. And then at one point, Rick McCallum came down and said, "We've spent enough on this shot. I'm pulling the plug." I said, "I'm not finished." I said, "I haven't even done the reins that he's holding in his hand." And he said, "Well, we've spent enough on it. We gotta move on to the next shot." I said, "Oh, please, I'll work overtime. Just give me the shot. I've got to finish it off." And like, okay, we'll give you 2 days. I gave you 2 days to try and do a stormtrooper and the reins and everything, and all the canteens moving on the dewback, everything that was dependent on the dewback movement, I had to do in like 2 days and render it out. And just like, oh, I'm done. Like a surgeon, you know. Oh, I'm done. Crazy. After that, I went to the producer and I said, his name is Tom Kennedy. I used the magic word. I said, if you would like it cheaper, then I would reduce the number of people. And he heard the word cheaper. Being a producer, you hear that word. Like, oh. So after that, it became much easier to. Can you hear Wookiee in the background?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We're live. See, like we're live.
We're live. This is
live.
real.
This is real. This is real.
Well, Wookiee wants to be in the first episode. It's May 4th.
Wookiee. Oh, actually, I've got to tell you, Wookiee got his first movie credit.
Oh, no way.
Oh,
I went to see the premiere for Ultraman Rising, which comes out in June 14. And at the end of it, it said poor production, and it had all the list of pets. And I looked at the end; it's all alphabetical. So I looked at the very corner for Wookiee, and there he was. But they missed it. They missed an E off his name.
Oh no!
One E. I was like, it's 2 E's.
I was credited as a director when I was assistant director, so whatever.
Well, now Wookiee's on IMDb, so go check out Wookiee on IMDb.
I should make him an IMDb.
You should make him an IMDb. And everyone should go check out
Wookiee
Warren's
Chewbacca
IMDb.
Austin.
My IMDb?
Yeah, I think we should check out. Eventually, I think everyone should go check out both of your IMDb's because, first of all, Mark, holy crap, you have so much on your IMDb you should be very proud of. I'm
very proud. I'm tired. That's why I look the way I do. It's like Indiana Jones said. It's not the years, it's the mileage.
Mileage, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's the mileage. That's why I look like I do.
That's right.
So,
all right.
I'm going to mute while Wookiee is. Wookiee!
There we go.
Oh, wow.
You see how beating it is?
Yeah.
Right. It's blissful now. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible that you guys, you have different stories, different paths to Star Wars. But like you said, we're all so connected. I mean, you guys got to be on screen for Star Wars, even if it was a TV show and even if it was special edition. I mean, the cool thing too is nowadays they're bringing these movies. I was going to say, let me retract that. Special edition is pretty much canon for anyone my age because they mostly wanted the original trilogy like destroyed, and the special edition was. When you go on to Disney Plus, you're seeing the special edition. When I grew up, I think the only way we could watch the original trilogy was by some stupid old thing, like a VHS. I don't even know what that is. I thought that was like some sort of disease or something. I had no idea. what the hell a VHS is. I was like, I'm sorry, did you have that?
Wow.
Yeah, my dad was like, "Hey, we just got, we just cut a VHS." I was like, "Wow, you need to be careful who you hang out with." Anyway, so for me, special edition that's what I grew up on. That's what I saw. So I had no idea that Boba Fett wasn't in A New Hope.
Yeah.
And what also confused me, sorry, 1 second.
You're gone.
What confused me as well about Boba Fett not being in A New Hope was, remember they made the Kenner Boba Fett figure to the Star Wars line.
Yes.
They didn't, his first figure was like 78, 79, whatever it was, under Star Wars. So me being a collector, I was like, oh yeah, he must have been in the first movie. I had no idea. I thought Jabba was always that ugly.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
It took a special spaz.
Did you know that for the Power of the Force action figure that they released in '97, I met those guys I asked Jim Suringer, I said, was you at the Skywalker Ranch for that 1994 summit? And he said, no, I wasn't. There were other people that were there from Kenner. And that's when I got to actually wear the costume for the first time, was for this summit. This was before.
Oh, cool.
The reason I got to do the blue screen shoot was because I was the guy that fit the suit for the summit.
Okay.
So they knew I fit it.
Right.
They knew everything. If you don't fit inside that flight suit that everything attaches to, then they can't use you.
Right.
So they, the Kenner guys came over and he wasn't allowed to talk at this thing. I wanted to say, like, as you wish. Because you have to just mime. So the Kenner guys came over and said, oh, see that guy over there? That's the president of Kenner. We want you to manhandle him.
Oh, boy.
Chuck him out the cantina bar. Because they rebuilt the cantina bar for this party. So I went over to the president, tap, tap, tap. He turned around. And I was like, you and me. And I pointed to the thing. And I grabbed his hand. I put it behind his back.
Oh, Jesus.
And I walked him out. I walked him to the door and I let him go. And he's like, oh, he goes, before you go in the back doing your rounds, because you're doing rounds, being in character. Before you go and do your rounds, can we bug you just to stand for a second while we get details right that we messed up the first time, because we messed up the rangefinder. You know?
Okay. We
had to add it in really late. That's why it's down here in this like down position, because you almost missed it, you know. So, sure, you know. So I went over, followed him over. I had to stand there, and the guys were like, and he said, "Talk to the guys," and blah blah blah. Pointed to me. They got their cigarette boxes out their pockets, their shirt pockets, and dumped the cigarettes into the shirt pocket. Opened up the box, grabbed a pen from behind the ear, and artists started like walking around me and drawing and just tilting my head like this way and that, and drawing details that they wanted to get right when they released this figure. So I was expecting a figure that was, pristine,
right,
so precise.
Right.
I didn't expect He-Man.
Oh my God.
He-Man meets Boba Fett. I really didn't expect that. But I can say that I posed for the Power of the Force Boba Fett action figure in 1994.
All right.
Yeah, that's something.
That's
I was going to say earlier.
Did you know that story? Have I told?
No, I've never heard that. I was going to say earlier when we were talking about the original Star Wars figures, like how they look clunky and like big and small, and then the '90s was like, yeah, Star Wars on steroids. Let's go.
Yeah, even C-3PO was.
C-3PO's jacked. C-3PO could like beat the shit out of a stormtrooper. Like it was even R2-D2
that version.
Right? Even R2-D2's got like a six-pack. It's nuts.
It's amazing.
I mean, the only one, even Obi Wan. So that's a problem too. Like you look at the Obi Wan figure, and he's jacked, and then you look at like Warren, and you're like, what the hell? What is this? What is this guy?
CGI.
Yeah, right. AI.
We don't.
Well, we won't talk about that until a future episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely want to ask you guys a couple questions before we wrap up this episode. That I have about your guys' careers. But things that I've never even asked you, and were somewhat friends or associates, and I haven't asked you this. What was your first reaction, Mark, to seeing yourself as Boba Fett on screen?
Surreal. It was really surreal, and it was at Man's Chinese Theatre.
Oh wow, you can't top that.
I went to the premiere with my Disney friends because I was at Disney now. I'd left Ireland.
Oh, wow.
I was at Disney. I'd been at Disney for a while because remember, we shot it in December 94. I had to wait to March, I think, 97 to see it. So that was a long time to keep a secret. And this is before, the internet and before, social media. So nobody knew who I was for 20 years after it happened. It wasn't until 2015 that somebody asked me a question. Weren't you the guy? And I thought, oh, maybe I'll start a Twitter, and that's how it started.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
But I was anonymous, and I thought I'd die anonymous. That everyone would just think, because a lot of people came and said, I thought it was Jeremy. I thought it was old footage of Jeremy.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
That they just comped in. And I just thought that's a compliment because I studied his walks over and over for all the best been. Half the time maybe it's John Morton, but I studied the walk over and over again and tried to get the tempo of it down, the smoothness of it, and thought, okay, he's got to be not distracted. He's going to be like, you don't want to bob, you want to be scanning everything. So the fact that I did that summit at Skywalker Ranch, that was 4 hours in the suit.
Yeah.
And I was in it probably a half an hour before and at least an hour and a half afterwards because they put music on and I was dancing with Ula all night.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
I told the real Ula that as well. I told Femi that in Rochester. I said, do you know? I said, the person I danced with all night in the Skywalker Ranch. And she said, who? I said, you, Ula. She was like, oh. We got a picture taken. Oh.
That's funny.
That's a great thing. That's what I'm thinking. That's why I keep coming back to this, because I think we have something in our connections that is really valuable, and that's why I'm hoping that we bring into this fold.
Yeah,
is that kind of comfort level with the guests, because they're not guests we don't know. They're guests that either you spent time with, Dom, and you, Warren. James might be one of our first guests. I really hope he is. And
I'd be fond of that.
It's all people that we have a bond with already. So I'm hoping that that's going to be the edge for our We Speak Bocce. That's why we speak Bocce.
We speak Bocce.
We speak Bocce.
We just do it raw. We speak Bocce.
This is 100% raw. Okay, 100%.
And it should be that way. It should be that way. I don't want it all flowery and fake. I'd rather be, we've hung out with these guys. It should be a continuation of that.
Right.
Yeah, like hanging out with them.
And things that we haven't asked them. Like I'm saying to you guys, like there's definitely questions like, I'm not going to sit there in the car and just be like, yeah, so Mark, what was it like to do this and do that? And Warren, what was it like to, see your hand for the first time on Obi Wan? Sorry, Warren. That was bringing me to my next point. Warren.
I thought that real quick, I thought that Mark was going to say that on the trip back from Rochester, or one of the trips back, they were playing the special edition.
Movies.
Yep.
And he's sitting there, on the plane watching himself on the thing.
that was. I told you the other one was going to the Hollywood Bowl. Because my wife got me tickets to go to the Hollywood Bowl to see New Hope, but with the orchestra playing the music.
Oh, wow.
But when I didn't know if it was going to be the original. See, like everyone gives me a lot of grief about the special edition, like it was my decision that they ever happened. I think the mistake is, and we'll just say this for the slate, for the record, I think the mistake that Mr. Lucas made was pretending that the original didn't exist. He could have doubled his money.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Through holding it back and saying this didn't exist and kind of pretending like, it never happened. Don't look at this one. He alienated the special edition more than it probably would have been, because you only had that one version. Like Dom, you just mentioned that. You said, you grew up and this was the only version available to you. If you look at Disney Plus, it's the only version only version available to you. So say that 5 times fast. So I think his mistake, and I think his big mistake, he could have, like I said, he could have made so much more money.
I think he's doing okay.
Yeah, I think he's doing pretty decent right now.
I love George. I didn't think, because when I did the blue screen shoot, I was hoping he'd come down, and he never did. So I was like, I thought, damn it, that was my one time I could have worked with George Lucas, and because they said, oh, he might come down. I was like, please, 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 please.
Yeah.
I thought he didn't come down in the morning, and the morning was the first shot, the walk on. The afternoon was the scan and walk off. And I thought, oh, he might be there for that. And he never turned up again. I was like, oh, shit. And you can only see so much so it was all fogging up. So I didn't know if he was there, and I didn't see him. But then, like I said, when 6 months later, I finish working on Casper that I was working on, go to HR, they say I'm working on New Hope. Suddenly I'm in a room, and next to me is George Lucas, and we've got the theater showing the dailies, and I'm like, man. Oh my God.
Wow.
I am where I could get struck down by lightning right now. And I've been Boba Fett. I've worked with George Lucas.
What more do you need?
What more?
Yeah, right. I think you can get off this podcast now.
Yeah,
Jesus. Yeah, thanks. Way to rub it in. I've been Boba Fett. I work with George Lucas. Yeah. What else have you done? Worked at Disney. Worked on the Avengers. Way to rub it in. Go look at my IMDb, you bunch of blokes. You'll see everything I've done.
50 movies so far.
So,
I think 52 movies.
Yeah, rub it in. Rub it in. Yeah.
I got the mileage. See, this is the mileage. This is the payment.
That'll do it.
Yep. Well, I'm in my aunt's basement, so check that out.
As you wish.
Oh boy.
So
all right.
Listen, my hairy wampa friend.
Let's have fun, man.
Yeah, let's do
it. So Warren, I have actually wait, I got one last question for you, Mark, and then I'm gonna go to Warren real quick. Mark, I gotta say what we talked about before. I remember the time we talked about how you said that you had to fit the costume.
Yeah.
You had to fit the suit to get the role.
Yeah.
Now, my question for you is, if you didn't fit, were you going to be like a boxer that didn't cut weight? Were you going to go to the bathroom and start throwing up? Were you going to start like speed walking, running, working out? Like how hard would have you gone for that role? Were you like, was there no way that you were going to walk out not playing Boba Fett?
There was no time to even do that, because Don called me, Don Bees. He called me, and I thought he was calling me because they just put out an email requesting stormtroopers. That's all they said. Who would like to be a stormtrooper? Email, blah blah blah. So you can imagine how many people emailed, including myself. So when Don called, I thought, oh yes, my guy on the inside, he's going to come through for me. I'm gonna be a stormtrooper. I'm going to be a stormtrooper and wear a costume at Skull Ranch. It'll be great. So I get on the phone, and he's like, no, I'm sorry, you're not going to be a stormtrooper. And so I joked. I was like, I'm too short, right? Too short. I'm like Luke, right? I'm too short.
Yeah.
And he goes, no. He goes, we weren't anticipating that we'd have that kind of response. We thought we were trying to get, I think they wanted like 10 to 12 people. They already had Dave, C. Andrew Nelson for Vader. They already had him picked. So they had a Vader. They wanted stormtroopers. And so they wanted 10 or 12, because the idea was they were going to show all the license holders. Like I told you, there's Kenner figures were there. There was like Dark Horse Comics. All the license holders were at this summit for like a big hype. And the reason that they wanted the stormtroopers is that they were going to show these re-releases, remixes of the original trailers, saying that the movies are coming back out. Now we've added, whatever. And at the end, they're all like, whoa, minds are blown. And then suddenly stormtroopers come in. Like, oh my God. We're going crazy. And then Darth Vader comes in. Oh my God. Mind melt. And Darth Vader comes in and goes, we would be honored if you would join us. Oh my God. And then they go out. they walk out, and then they were going to go in to have drinks, and that was going to be it. So Don said, well, we had 100 and, I don't know, maybe 150, maybe I can't remember the number he told me, but it was over 100 responses. So they had this plethora of people they could dress up. So they're like, okay, rather than it just being drinks, let's rebuild the, because we're ILM, we're bored and we're model makers. Let's rebuild the Star Wars cantina, life size. Let's rebuild it there, and we'll have the land speeder outside the front with the droids there. I thought they were going to have people, like somebody in the droid costume, but there was no one. They just were there, dead.
Yeah.
Limp.
But they had the stormtroopers checking their IDs before they went through this curtain. And when they went through the curtain, they had the bam bam, and all dancing in the corner. And they had the bar, they had the bartender, they had dry ice everywhere. They had tables, little tables in the cantina, but round ones. And they had half the tables were human people, real guests.
Oh, cool.
But half of them were aliens because they populated with all aliens. So, yeah, the blue screen was a really fun thing to do, but this was the funnest experience because I was in the cantina bar with a blaster. Yeah. And when I came near to a guy and gave him a look, it was shied away. It was like I was living the role, Yeah. And so after 2 hours, I had someone trying to drag me off. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, you need to have a break. I said, no.
I don't want a break.
No, that's fine. I'm fine. And then, no, we legally have to give you a break and sit you down. And so I went out and they put me on this chair. And so I'm sitting there. And I'm sitting there with a helmet on my lap, like a school kid, waiting, detention, okay, how much? Yeah. Actually, I couldn't do that because I've got gauntlets on, but okay, you can go. And I went back in again. And so it was the trippiest experience ever wearing that costume at that event. And so just wearing the real costume, like I said, I thought, I could get struck down by lightning now. There can't be anything better than this. And then after this came the blue screen shoot. And then after that came the animating. Lucky. I've lived a blessed career, I will admit.
Yes, you have. So thank you for sharing those stories, Mark. That was incredible. Warren, I have a couple questions for you, and then we'll sign off. Okay. So, Warren, I was thinking to myself, since you're a Disney Plus actor for Star Wars, you don't really get the theater experience that Mark gets. So, well, I guess I think Ahsoka might have premiered a couple episodes or something like that in theaters.
Well, actually, Obi Wan, they played it in Toronto, where Deborah's from.
Oh, were you there?
No, but I heard that they did
it. Did you take your emu there, Silas?
Silas, the emu.
So, my question for you is, what was your, I guess, your reaction to all your appearances on Disney Plus? Like when you're watching Obi Wan, can you be like, "Oh, that's me right there. That's my left hand. That's my ass cheek."
What I love about I actually usually point out my ass cheeks.
Yes, that's what I thought.
I had a gray butt plate.
Oh,
as a night trooper. It's. What was the question?
Do you point out your characters every time you're watching?
No,
at home?
I mean
What do you look for?
Well, what I like about Obi-Wan is that I was doing all the scenes. I was rehearsing all the scenes.
Oh, cool.
So anything that has Ewan in it, I did that scene, and so I would watch it and be like, oh yeah, I remember I was it was 105 that day, and I had a LaCroix or what, so I remember the stuff that happened while I'm watching it.
But that's your hand, right? That's your hand.
Well, sure.
Reaching for the lightsaber or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to get Ewan back for that. Like
No,
you
no.
and
Well,
come out in this
he
really
was-
hot weather with this
Mm,
hand
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
So.
right.
Actually, oh man, we gotta save that for another story. But
Yeah.
the first making the space stew. There's a
Oh, that's right.
that's a really interesting story that I'd like to tell, but
Okay.
we'll save that.
Okay. We have stories to tell throughout our adventures. So
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, and there'll be
stay
episodes.
tuned, everybody.
Yeah, and there'll be episodes more focused back on you guys and everything. So, yeah.
Well, and then after this is kind of our introduction to people. But after this, we'll have a guest, and it will be a lot more focused on whoever the guest is.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that we're gonna have them lined up, and we're gonna have all different walks of life from the galaxy and out of this galaxy, of course. And that's we've mentioned some names of people that. Not to say that's 100% going to happen, but
wish list.
There's going to be people that we have access to that will tell you 100% they're coming on, and then there's people that we hope we can get, and the more we do this, the people we hope we can get are eventually going to come on.
Yeah.
So that's the cool thing is we're going to grow this with you guys. We are fans of Star Wars. We're also going to be keeping tabs on stuff going on. The Acolyte show is coming out soon. So there's plenty of stuff we can talk about. And, just in the Star Wars fandom, new toys, Star Wars Celebration, there's just always something. Rebels, whatever. Ahsoka, season 2, maybe. Obi Wan, season 2. I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Hope so.
Well, what about Book of Boba Fett season 2? Do you hope for that, Mark?
I don't know. I want a different kind of Legends, collection.
Okay,
nice. But we can talk about that another time.
Yeah, right. Way to tease them, huh? You're a tease. So with this all being said, I think it was a fun first little episode here. I mean, we've gone over an hour easily, and think about how much we haven't talked about.
Right.
And we've done an hour and almost 30 minutes.
Right.
So that's just to tell everybody, like, there's so much we can talk about. And like I said, it's going to be fun. So with this being said, Warren, where can all our listeners find you online?
Oh, well, you can find me on Instagram at WRProulx, WRPROULX, just like it sounds.
Yep.
You can find me at warrenproulx.com. That's probably about it right now. I don't know.
Yeah. For anyone interested in getting a hold of Warren, well, not getting a hold of Warren, but
you can get a hold of me through the website.
Right. Well, I was going to say, for people interested in getting autographs from Warren, anyone that wants an autograph that can't attend a show or something you're at, then go to your website.
That would be available. Sure.
Right. And then we're going to pull up Mark again, and Mark is going to tell us where we can find him.
I would definitely use my Instagram, which is Boba Fett ANHSE. The ANHSE stands for A New Hope Special Edition. So distinguishes me from the other Boba Fetts.
There you go. Yeah. And last but not least, the man himself, me. You can find... Hey, hello there.
Hello there.
So you guys can find me at New England Touring Record Show on Facebook. I mean, I have so many things you can follow. Out of This Galaxy, Out of This Galaxy Talent Agency. We have New England Touring Record Show on Instagram. But most importantly, where we want people to go is We Speak Bocce. We have an Instagram at We Speak Bocce. We have Facebook.
Yay.
We Speak Bocce.
We got everything.
And we got YouTube, We Speak Bocce. Oh my goodness. Wookie, settle down. Was that Margot? No. So, see?
That's Margot.
Yeah, that's her after 2 minutes talking to us. Not kidding me? Yeah. So Spotify we should have up, hopefully. Spotify should be all set. YouTube should be all set, and I think we're going to try to get approved for Apple Podcast. So, yeah, I just, right. The biggest thing that I hope for you guys to do is to share. Everyone listening at home, share, like, comment. We want to actually hear from you guys and tell us what you think. Tell us,
No, don't
what
tell us
guests you
anything.
might want on.
No, don't be too honest.
Yeah, don't be
Be
too honest, but like, tell us,
This
tell us how.
is our first one. This is the debut.
So, thank you guys. Hopefully, you guys
Thank
enjoy
you.
it. But most importantly, like I said, like, subscribe, comment, share, whatever.
Tell us what you'd
Thank
like
you,
us
guys.
to do to evolve the show, even. How about
Absolutely.
that?
And guest suggestions.
Yay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, we speak Bocce.
All right, we speak Bocce.
We Speak Bocce. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tune in to We Speak Bocce for fun deep dive conversations and debates that lead to some never before heard stories with guests from all across the galaxy, including actors from your favorite Star Wars movies and TV shows, as well as behind the scenes talent, artists, and authors from the Star Wars universe. We will also have other interviews with special pop culture guests from around the galaxy to discuss the impact of Star Wars on pop culture as a whole. Stay tuned for fun interviews with Academy Award winner Roger Christian, ILM legend and fellow Wampa Howie Weed, reality TV star from Love on the Spectrum James B. Jones, and so much more. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram at We Speak Bocce. Make sure you stay updated for latest interviews and episodes. May the Force be with you, always.